I'm going to make a jig for this circular saw. Reason being, this bathroom job we're doing with the sauna we're building, there's going to be a lot of, well, I've got to build a couple of stud walls basically. So using 3 metre lengths of timber. This thing's a bit big and bulky. There is dust extraction on it, but it's not great like most chop saws. It flings it everywhere, and I don't want to be doing it in the house really. The house is kind of 90% done. Kicking up a load of dust, it's not really what I'm going to be doing. So I'm going to make a quick, cheap, quick and dirty Mitre Jig, cross-cut jig, whatever you want to call it, out of scrap. Ideally I want to hinge it if I can, so that with these 3 metre lengths of timber we can just sort of poke it in the room, bring it down and then saw it, rather than have to poke it through. It's a little bit tight for space, so I've got no idea how I'm going to do this yet. There might be some mitres in there as well, so I want to put something in it just for doing the odd mitre. I don't think there's going to be any, but however in the future it might be useful for something else. But that's the plan. A couple of bits of scrap ply. This is 18mm. Screwed them together because I want a bit of weight to it. There is one factory edge, which is this one, so that's straight. The rest of them aren't, so we can't trust any of these. But what we're interested in is getting a 90-degree along here, and my thoughts are I'm going to step that back a little bit, have something here for the top plate to sit on, which is what the guide's going to be, and then I'll have something across here set back so that I can get my 2x4s in and chop them. I want the blade to be slightly in from the edge. Keep your fingers out of the way, and then if I do need to do a 90, that will then sit like there, and there'll be something along here as a rest. So I'll only do 45s, but this is the most important bit here. If we get this wrong, if this isn't at 90 degrees to this edge, everything from now on will be wrong. So I'm going to set this to 90 using our straight edge, and then clamp it and screw it from behind, and then check it again before we go any further. Lovely. As long as we get that right, this is going to be my guide, and what I'm thinking is I'm going to have it level with the edge of this board, because we need a rail either side for our saw to sit in to stop it going left and right. This is actually square, so quite lucky, that's good. I think I'm going to figure out these guide rails. I'm going to have an end stop across here and across here, so it'll only go, it won't come off, you have to lift it out, so you can't go too far and keep chopping into this. I want it just enough so that it's completing the cut, doesn't need to go any further. And then I'll have the hinge on this side. I was going to put a piece in here, but if I ever do 45s, it'll be in the way, so I'm going to leave that empty. Just have one hinge on this side, and hopefully I might put two on, depends how wobbly it is. But anyway, that's the top and the bottom. I need to find some side stuff now. I don't want to use this because it's too thick. A couple of bits of scrap, so that'll do for that edge. And this one's thinner because on the saw we've got the body of the motor, so you've got to have it thinner, otherwise it'll hit that and it'll ride up on it. So that's less than 10mm, which is great. So let me get these chopped down, and then we'll lay it out, see what it looks like. I've screwed these on, same thing again, just screwed from underneath. This is square to this edge here, so this is going to be our cutting edge along there. Next thing is to get the stop. This is the guide that's going to stop the saw from going left and right. So I'm just going to line this up again, make sure this is at 90 degrees to that. I'll clamp it, turn it over and screw it. So this is square, this is square. We're going to set this in here and use our guide to set a position where this can slide freely. We don't want to be fighting this when we're sawing, but also you don't want it wiggling around. Quite a nice fit. It's just a little bit snug, but it doesn't take any effort to push it, and there's no real wiggle to speak of. Not that I'm worried about. It's not furniture we're going to be making, it's ripping down stud work, so yeah, I'm happy with that. That's good. Right, had to have a bit of a rethink. Obviously the saw blade's round, so to get a full cut, rather than in my head for some reason I was thinking it was going to end here, it's not. So to get fully through the piece we're working on, it's got to be there, so we've got to have probably that much overhanging to get the hinge to work. So we can still do the hinge, but what we've got to do is put a block on there. Rather than pivoting on this edge now, it pivots on this back edge, which now it lifts up like I wanted it to do. So it's not the end of the world, just a little bit of jiggery pokery, shall we say, but we still should have enough room when moving this forward to get our 45 cut if we ever need to do one. So let me correct that. Back on track now. That's just to pack our hinge out. That's going to sit underneath like that. I've moved that forward, so now that sits there like that, and then we're going to flip it over now and try that again. That side. Right, I've marked where this back edge is on this. So now if we put a line across here, as long as this edge is parallel to this edge, which it is because they're the same thickness, we should be able to just pop our block on there, and then we'll set our hinge. Before I set that hinge, to make it easier to line up where I want this blade to go, I'm going to do the saw cut in here, so like the channel that the blade's actually going to sit through. I'm actually going to cut that now so that I can have a better idea of where this sits when I've got it upside down. That was a lot harder than it needed to be. However, got our line now so we can see where we're aiming for. I had a little bit of trouble getting this hinge to line up, kept kicking off, so what I did is I screwed this block to this board here as a temporary measure just to hold it in place, and then I did the same up this end, because when I measured this right angle it was off. Now we're bang on, because there's no point in making this if it's doing a wonky cut. But now see that block, that's what I wanted it to do. I wanted it to go up and stay up so I could manhandle a big bit of timber in. and then bring it down and do the cut. But I'll neaten this up. Right, next bit is, I think it's worth doing, putting something in so we can put a 45 in there. That should do it. Just gonna put a little piece in there. So I'm gonna put a 45-degree angle, because we know this is straight to this, right across there. Right, to have like a visual guide there for future bits and pieces. But right, so that's that, and then this is going to be as simple as making sure I've got plenty enough space for there, and then I'll fix this to this. And the idea is you can then slide a 2x4 in like that, cut your 45, take it out, or lob one in like that. So it does 45 and 90s, which I think this is ready for testing. I think it should be as easy as through there and then 45 through there. So the only way to prove this is to trim this end and measure it, see if it's at a 90, and then try and cut a 45 on it. I think if I can cut a 45 on a short little bit like this, the rest of it should be pretty straightforward. But I'm going to run the saw through this now, because there's obviously going to be a channel here, because I want it to go past it. But let me just do that, clean it up. Right, progress. We're getting there. I had to make a little modification when I did the test cut to clear this out before I did actually cut the first piece. It wasn't going that way far enough. I'm kind of limited to the bits of scrap I had. I could do this being a little bit longer, but it is what it is. So I took that off there, put it on the side, I glued it and then screwed it, and it's given me another inch now. So we should be able to, here's my pencil, there we go. If we put a mark on here, and this is why I wanted this thing hinged. So I can lift it up, line it up. I'm going to clean this hopefully so I can see down there as well, but I can kind of make out that line actually. It's not too bad. Right, see how we get on. We should now be able to, let's lose. Got no dust extraction on here yet. I've got to make an adapter, but bear with me. Right. Looks all right. Is it square? That'll do me. Right, let's get really cocky now, shall we? And try a 45. It should be as simple as pop it in there. Now, this is a bit shorter than I'd ever cut in this, so I'm going to have to try and hold it, but imagine a long piece. Same thing again. Pop that in. Where I'm short, it hits the piece, so you've got to lift it up and start high and then bring it down to it. But that's .45. It's pretty good. Well, that I'd say was a raving success. We got there in the end. It is down and dirty, which is what I said it was going to be, and I didn't have a clue really when I started this how this was going to go. All I knew was I wanted a 45 if I could do it, and I wanted this hinge. I might have to block it up a little bit because that touches the floor now, but that's as easy as putting another couple of little bits of ply underneath it just to make a stand. There we go. Circular saw, Mitre Jig, cross-cut jig, made from scrap. A couple of screws, didn't cost me a penny. Happy with that. Hopefully this one's helped you out. Give it a go, see what you can make. Have a look at my other stuff. I'll see you on the next one.